Or back in this parking lot as you can park. Cars stagger back first. Skinwalker Ranch, and sometimes they think that we're just doing it because rockets are insanely fun to launch. That is one reason. But they're also a really useful tool. They're a projectile, not unlike the bullet that comes out of a gun. And it's one of the best ways to put energy into a location that's real hard to touch. This rocket here is a rocket we designed specifically for a payload. I'm going to talk about that payload in a minute, but not right now. I just put it together so I can tell you about the parts of a rocket. Let me jump in. Jump in there, Eric. So, everything's driving good.
Can't hear you.
Not on.
That's sanitary. That's the way I would say it. You know, it's very yeah. So, keep going. Oh, so Eric's all about data. The reason why telling you that diagram there about mechanism to send payloads up into a place, right? So, because they are. How amazing is it that you can take something this size, and we've got about 2 or 3 pounds worth of payload inside this container, and this rocket will deliver that depending on the motor we put in it. If we put a motor like this in it, it'll go to about 3,000 feet. And if we put one of these, which we're going to use today, it's somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 feet high, depending on the atmospheric pressure and humidity, and that's good wind and so on. Now, what are the parts of the rocket? Well, we just talked about a motor. The motor is back here, and it pushes the rocket up. The interesting thing is there has to be some kind of solid structure here that the rotor pushes against. Otherwise, the motor will just sit right on through the body. It won't go inside the tail. Catastrophically and quite enjoyably. But so we have a thing there called the thrust structure. If a rocket's this size, it's usually a little plywood circle that rests. Alright? Then you have the body. That's the main tube here. Is the body that the rocket is basically supported by. You have aerodynamic surfaces. These are fins. You have a 4-fin rocket in this particular case. And we usually have a launch rail, which you see way out there, because the wind's so strong today, we had to take it out there because it's going to bring the rocket back here to Atlas. Right? These little nubs here, they're called launch lugs. These are the things that hold it to the rail so that it's guided as it goes up. Yes, very good, Caleb. If you don't pay attention to what we say here today, and even if you do, you might even have two PhDs or 3 master's degrees, and still manage to make many rockets that do this. Because, as they say, it's not rocket science. Maybe it is. Right. So, the launch lug holds this to the launch rail so that it can have at least up. Because rockets are inherently unstable until they get fast enough. And here's why. I meant to bring a broom, but I forgot to bring a broom. Anybody ever held a broom in your hand, upside down, right about, you're doing this the whole time? I don't want to dance. Okay, so, problem is, while there's no air pressure moving quickly by this rocket, I am having to control it like this by myself. The fins are doing that for us when it's moving because there's air pressure against the fins, and that's doing the guidance down here at the bottom. The rocket has to be top-heavy. The center of gravity has to be above the center of pressure so that it's stable. So the rocket always wants to fall over like this, always. But the speed of the air going by these fins, creating lift on on each side of these fins, and it's pulling the rocket back to center. And when you do that, you have a stable rocket. Now, during the Revolutionary War, there was a guy named Congreve. Now, during the Revolutionary War, what we did was we took sticks and put rockets that looked like bottle rockets that we used today on the 4th of July, and they would fire them over, and they'd have an explosion on the end of it. Hopefully, it would take out a person, a cannon, or something. Well, they were unstable, and they couldn't guide where they'd go. You've seen bottle rockets; they just go, all. Well, Congreve had the idea of putting fins on the rocket, but tilting, making them uneven. So what that would do is it would make the rocket spin. And then that's what's called a spin-stabilized rocket. Have you ever seen an arrow with a bow and arrow? If the fletching isn't all right, the arrow will spin. Well, actually, that keeps the arrow pretty stable. You're not going to hit the bullseye, but you're going to hit a big bullseye that size every time because it stabilizes the rocket spin. These aren't spin-stabilized. The rockets, we went into great pains and detail to put these spins on exactly straight. And when we didn't get them exactly straight, I noticed that. Now, there's a payload container. That's the upper part. This, by the way, is called a nose cone. This is the payload bay, and whatever instrumentation we want to launch is inside the payload bay. I'll talk about that in a minute. I don't want to undo this rocket any more than we already have right now. Now we're going to start building the rocket we're about to launch. So, inside the body tube, motor will go back here when we put it in. Fins, they got to keep those in. Right? I've got to bring Skinwalker sticker up. This, like that magician, this is called the shock port. Okay, it connects the body to the rest of the rocket, the payload tube and the nose cone. Right? We usually have these bulkheads and these eye bolts to hold everything in place. Well, we have a recovery system. In our case, it'll be a parachute. Well, what happens? Yeah. So, this is a anyway, so it's going to burn for 1 point something seconds, and it's about a 10-second delay after it goes up. And on the other end of it is a shooting charge. And what will happen is when the rocket motor burns out, it'll have a little and it'll burn at the time, 10-second delay. And it'll hit that charge and it'll go the buoy, and it blows this whole top half out of the rocket like a camera. That's why we have everything attached to it all the time. Then this deploys the ship one control. What we have discovered is that the majority of the ships we have, the motors we get from the manufacturer, they're not putting enough powder in them nowadays for some reason to actually blow the payload out. They're probably designed to blow another component. And that is exactly what happens. We have what we call the long dart. You guys remember playing long dart? Try to catch it. Come on. Yep. Well, that's what you get if the ship charge doesn't perform properly. You know what? Yes. Kablooey light. Yes. What we do is we pop a little plug out of there. And then you need a can of kablooey. Thingy-majig, doody, squinty-headed, and kablooey stuff. And most importantly, you'll learn in just a second, that one is a highly technical term. Alright, so I like to put enough and a little bit more. The most important piece of any rocket kit is science making. Alright. Gotta have something to hold the fluid in place. Alright. Too much fluid inside. Once again, you'll end up. Alright. Now, let's see. Oh, now let's go ahead and insert the rocket motor into the rocket body, into the thrust structure. Alright, one thing we have also discussed. Most times if you buy a rocket kit from a rocket company, manufacturer, whatever, they used to put little metal clips here that would hold the motor in when the shoot charge goes. They don't do that anymore. And when you get up there and your shoot charge goes, what sometimes we found is this thing goes and throws the motor out the back instead of throwing the payload out the front. So once again, we use the infamous science tape. Harry, I'm blaming Harry. You know that happened to me last year, right? What's with you guys in equipment show? Oh, it's a Hitchhiker Phenomenon. I've never had this many agents until I met you. And he doesn't mean technical. That's the problem. It's up there. Stay with it, Eric. I got it now. All right. Now we have the appropriate amount of science tape holding the motor in place. Now, the next step is when the shoot charge goes kablooey, it's like a cannon, like I said, and it will blow all this stuff out the end. But have any of you ever loaded a cannon or a muzzle loader? Anybody here? All right, this gentleman, I see him nodding his head. So what is it that you have to put in there on top of the gunpowder so that you have the right seal and you also are able to throw your ball, your mini ball, or your musket ball out into the barrel? Wad patch. Well, sometimes we actually do use a patch of Kevlar, but we also use something that's common in the rocket community to use what we call dog bark, because it actually looks like dog bark when they throw up in your living room rug. It's really just insulation that you can buy that they'll blow in your ceiling. So you get about a handful or so of it, and you drop it down into the barrel, right? And that will protect the chute even from getting broken when the kablooey happens. All right, next. Let's see what we got. Next is we pack the shroud cord down into the body tube. You know, the mission has to shove that hanky up the sleeve for about 30 minutes before we show up. Dragon usually keeps a big stick around so you can poke it down in there. Kind of like a ramrod when you're using a muzzle loader, right? The Travises are really special for the one that covers how long this thing should be compared to the rocket. Yes, the shock cord should be at least as long as the rocket body. I usually try to go about twice the length of the rocket body. There are people who have worked out optimization charts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's getting a little carried away with it. You don't really have to do that. Now, sometimes you just gotta wing it. You know, sometimes good enough is good enough. How many long darts have we had? So I could tell you about long darts my whole life, and I've had 4 Skinwalker rants I've had in my entire life put together. I find that really intriguing. But I also find it took place while we were having 2 years of a pandemic and people weren't doing quality work like they did before that. Rocket motors, we learned. It took us a long time to learn that they were putting up powders in rocket motors and all that. I want to say the one that had a lawn dart, and we're like, what the heck is going on? Because everything was working right. Yep. And we finally got one intact enough and pulled the motor out and figured out we're not getting enough.
That was time to break out the potato can.
There you go. All right, so then you hold your chute like the sometimes they don't unwrap. And then you simply stuff it down in there and making our cannon thusly. And then we put it all together. Now, a lot of these kits with the payload bay, they say, oh, this nose cone's in there tight enough. Well, that's pretty tight. Oh, I think the guys at Genesis put, that's not coming out. Yeah, they put that extra. I don't like doing that. They'll put, you want to take off them? I don't like doing that. I'd rather it be loose going in and out so I can put stuff in easily, and then just put a piece of tape around the outside. Now, what happens when you do that is your pretty paint job gets messed up. But are we worried about the pretty paint job or the functionality of the rocket? And while Caleb's working on that, I'm going to show you typically what one of our payloads looks like. So I'm going to take this out right now, and then I'm going to undo this nose cone. Now this is a very special payload system. The nose cone was designed specifically because the end of it off so we could actually put a GPS antenna inside this nose cone. Now this is a sensor that my daughter built for us that we've flown on the ranch several times now. She's an electrical engineering student at University of Alabama, Huntsville. And this is a 11 phenomenology sensor. And it records it all on SD cards. And so what it measures is GPS, very accurately actually, since we got a big antenna in here. It measures temperature, humidity, pressure, altitude, and it also has all up, down, left, right, forward, back, 6 degrees of freedom, plus each of those degrees of the up, down, and forward, back, and left and right acceleration. So you can add all that up, it'll be the left thing. And it records on the SD card 10 times a second, so every 10 seconds it takes a data. Yeah, there's a gyro over here on the side. And so once my daughter got it all working, put it together, then we hardened it for rocket flight. We used hot glue is perfect for that. In fact, at NASA they actually dip it in a material they call it potty, or a formal coating, and so they'll dip the whole thing. But we wanted to be able to take it apart, reuse it, and fix things or adjust things. We use hot glue so we can get it off if we want to. It works very well. We've flown this many times on a drone and twice already on a rocket. We've got a really good thing. We're not going to be flying it today because it uses two special 9-volt batteries, and we've used all the 9-volt batteries. We'll have to order something from Amazon. Yeah, regular 9-volt batteries will work, but we have to pay somebody to bring the drone or whatever. We're going to get buying our own. But the drones that we need, they're about $50,000 to an $80,000 drone, right? Yeah. Pete doesn't let us play with his toys without him being there, so then we have to pay Pete to be there. But we love Pete. And you'll see, we had the Omnitech guys that were there last year. They come out too. They brought their drones. We have a lot of drones this year. Next year you'll see a lot more activity. We launched them well. But this rocket right here costs $75. And the motor is about $20, right? And we can put this up to 2,000 feet and let it come down on a chute. It may take a minute to come back down, and we're gonna get a lot of data from that. That's why we launch rockets. They're cheap, they're easy, and they do the job. Why would we want to overkill it and spend all of our budget, on helicopters or whatever all the time when we could do this? Now, a lot of people don't understand. That's when people say things like, "Why don't you just blow the mesa up?" Why don't we just blow the mesa up? Yeah, but then if we blew the mesa up, we would also blow up what's inside the mesa, which is what we're trying to get out of the mesa. Now, I'm probably not going to do this today because we can see by the force, and there's no alfalfa knee high or waist high. And this we usually put on all the rockets because when they come down in the alfalfa we have out at the ranch or down by the river or behind the trees, we can't find them. But we hear them, and so we can usually go right to them. In fact, Caleb and I didn't go to bed till 5:30 this morning because we were looking for a rocket that we still haven't found.
We found the light, that fell off the rock.
Yeah. We usually put a blinky light and a loud noise maker, a screamer. Thank you for pulling that. So this is what I was talking about for the, you can use masking tape. We prefer science tape. Yeah, so camera people will call it gaff tape, and they use it all the time to tape all their cables and stuff. And so we steal every roll we can find. We call it science tape. That's not yours. That's not gaff tape. That's science tape. Oh, you guys can just. This just knows one of the payload, right? But we have no payload unless. Oh, I was thinking about. Eric and I have been arguing about this all day. Yeah. I would call it an argument. It's more like, what can we put in there so that once it flies, you can have it? Yeah, I would call it brainstorming, not argument. Yeah, I would too, right? I didn't sleep any last night, Eric. My vocabulary is no better than it was before. Yeah, we got mulch-out rents. We get chunks of mulch to fill that thing up and have that. Well, that's kind of gross. But I didn't bring it. We don't have any of that stuff. So, but is there something you guys would like that you may have in your pocket, in your car, in your wallet, a business card, a guitar pick, anything you want? A lot will fit in this payload canister. If you would like to get something, your badge, right? Make sure you put your name on it so that we can find it at school. Absolutely, you can. So, let's go ahead and do whatever.
I'm doing it. Yeah, that's it.
Turns into the wind as you just heard.
Yep.
Flip it up. Flip it. Flip it up. There you go.
Oh my God. Here it comes.
Lawn dart. Nope. There you go.
Woo!
Pretty cool.
It's up there. I'm going to say it's about 2,000 feet.
Oh my God, there it is. At least.
Let's go for a ride. The wind's pushing me.
Yeah, Shepherd launch our rockets from now on. She's got to shoot 100%. She's got 100%. What do we do with our cars for? Caleb said he would unless you just want him to. You're welcome. Hey, it's told me it's raining right there on the road.
Wow.
We got a website. You buy all the start kits that are $50 up to multi-$1,000 rockets. So we're building one with them right now. That's about a 20-foot tall rocket, about that big around. Yeah. Is Eric stuck over there?
Hey, you have a beeper there. Looks like you can't find it.
People over there.
He'll figure it out. Eric's pretty smart.
This is kind of one of the little rocket hackers.
7 or 8 years old. We were like, I actually took a wagon and put a big rocket motor on the back of the wagon for my kids. But my wife wouldn't put them in it. Yeah, my wife wouldn't let me put them in it. Now,
Yeah, I don't.